All right. Hi there, everybody. Welcome for a little bit more baseball fun today. We've got another 1908 game for you. We got the Philadelphia Athletics, who are woeful 0-4 against the Boston Red Sox, who are 4-0 and who are pretty surprising so far here in 1908. Leading off for the Athletics is going to be Topsy Hartzell. And Hartzell so far hitting was 263 in this season. He rolls a 24 for a 13 there against Cy Young, and that's a strikeout. Cy Young is sort of the ageless wonder here in this season. Cy Young in 1908, as you know, was in his, I believe, early 40s and had been in the game for a long, long time. And here's Harry Davis, rolls a 13 for a 14, and that is a walk. And here comes Eddie Collins now. And the question is, do you run with Davis or not? We're going to take a quick look, as we always do, at his card. And we'll see what he has in terms of 11s, and he does have one, which means that we're pretty safe if we hit and run with him. At least the worst possible thing, which is being caught stealing, will probably not happen. The rule for Collins is a 25 for an 8, and that ends up being against the B pitcher Cy Young. That's a little ground ball over to second base, and it is McConnell, there he is, who makes the play over to first base to Kerrigan for the out. There's 2 away now, and here comes Danny Murphy. And he rolls a 41 for a 28, and that ends up being a ground ball over to short. Wagner's got it, and Heine throws over to first base for the out. We go to the bottom of the first inning, and no score in this one so far, of course. And M.B. McConnell rolls a 54 for a 45. That's a little fly ball over to right field, and it's Murphy who has that one for the out. One away. Here's Harry Lord, and he rolls a 61 for 32, another fly ball to right field, and that's the second out. Here comes Gavy Kravitz now. He rolls a 12 for a 24. We have our little E roll, and the roll is a 23, which means that it is within the little E range. That was the fly ball over to Hartzell in left field, and it drops off of his glove for an error. Kravitz is on at first base now, and here's Doc Gessler up there with 2 outs, 1 man on. He rolls a 34 for a 44, and we have a little E. Maybe I should have been hitting and running there. And the little E ends up being a 14 is the roll, which means that it's a little ground ball over to Nichols at shortstop, who boots it enough to let Kravitz go over to third base. Runners on first and third now for the Red Sox are having all the luck here. And here's Jack Thoney. He rolls a 23 for a 32, and that's a fly ball again to Murphy in right field, who's a magnet out there, and he makes the play. And we go to the top of the second inning. 0-0 is the score. Rube Oldring up there rolls a 12 for a 25. Here comes that little E roll, and it's a 41, which is outside the range. That means it's a ground ball over to McConnell, who makes the play at first base for the out, 1 away. Here is Jimmy Collins, and his roll is a 46 for a 27, and that's a ground ball over to Lord at third base, who makes the play the easy way. And we go to Simon Nichols now, 2 outs here in the top of the second. And the roll is a 26 for a 39. That's a fly ball to right field, and it's Gessler who's got that one for the out. And we go to the bottom of the second, and here's Bill Kerrigan. He rolls a 32 for a 26. It's a ground ball to Eddie Collins, who makes the play at first base, 1 away, and Heine Wagner now. There's a 56 for a 32, and that's another one out to that magnet and right, Murphy. And here is Harry Ostiak, who's making an unusual start today. He had 1 game in real life. He might as well have 1 game in the replay. He rolls a 54 for a 45 and brings up the little air roll, which is a 63. That's just another fly ball out there to Murphy, who, as I said again, has been catching everything in the outfield today. And here's Mike Powers, top of the third inning. Rolls a 52 for a 27. That is a ground ball over to Lord at third base, and he makes the play at first for the out, 1 away. Eddie Plank now rolls a 34 for a 44. Brings up that little E, though, and the roll is a 31. That's outside the range. That is a fly ball over to Thoney in center field for the second out. Topsy Hartzell now rolls a 31 for a 14. Young giving up his second walk of the ball game, and here comes Harry Davis. He rolls a 25 for an 8, and that will end up being a little ground ball over to third base, and it is Lord making that play again. And that does it for the Athletics in the top of the third. No score, no hits, no nothing so far. And here's Cy Young, hitting for himself, of course, rolls a 51 for a 9, and there's your first base hit of the ball game. Cy Young legs that one out and trots over to first base with the hit, and here comes Amby McConnell. And we wouldn't, would we? I don't think we would. No, we wouldn't. We're just going to swing away with Young. That's all we're doing. Rolls a 34 for a 44. Should have hit and run. And we have a little E come up, and the roll is a 44. No little E, nothing to worry about. Fly ball out there to Oldring in center field for the first out. And here is Harry Lord. Harry Lord now, 1 out, runner on first base, who was Cy Young. He rolls a 46 for a 29. That's a little comebacker to Plank, the pitcher, who goes to first base for the out. 2 away now, and it's Gabby Kravitz up there, and he rolls a 46 for a 29, which is a little ground ball over to first base to Davis, and Plank covers at first, and that's the end of that inning. Top of the 4th inning. Only one hit in this ballgame so far. Eddie Collins rolls a 54 for a 45. That sparks a little E-roll, which is a 41 out of the range. That ends up being a fly ball over to Gessler and right, 1 away. Here's Danny Murphy, the magnet, rolls a 51 for an 8. There's a little ground ball over to Wagner at short, throws to first for the out, 2 away. Here's Rube Oldring. He rolls a 36 for a 33. We have a little E action again, and this is a 16 is the roll, and that ends up changing to a 22, which means this ends up being an error on Cy Young, the pitcher. And that means that's the first error of the ballgame for the Red Sox, and that brings up Jimmy Collins now with a runner on first base, and he rolls a 36 for a 33. Pop up over to Lord at third, and that's the out. And we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. No score in this one still, and here's Doc Gessler, and he rolls a 26 for a 13. He strikes out. And that brings up Jack Thoney now. 1 out, bottom of the 4th. He'll roll a 33 for a 7, and that is a base hit to right field. Thoney is the runner on first base, and he is fast. We're going to be hitting and running with him, I think, is the right call here. Bill Kerrigan. I say I think because I'm trying to decide whether to bunt or to hit and run. I think we will hit and run in this case. Again, it's a hard case. I know I have to do something. Rolls a 36 for a 33, and that was probably the wrong thing to do. That is a line drive over to Collins at third base, and he doubles up Kerrigan at first, and Kerrigan Thoney at first, and here is Simon Nichols now as we go to the top of the 5th inning. Still no score in this one. The Athletics looking for the first hit. Nichols rolls a 13 for a 39, and that changes to a 40 with the automatic number changer. That's a foul ball. I'm going to roll this one again as that was on the edge. This ends up being a 66 now here for Nichols again. And the second roll is a 32 for an 11. So it is a base hit for him, and he steals the next base. First base hit of the Athletics for the Athletics in this game. First base hit of the game for the Athletics, I should say. And here comes Mike Powers. And you know you're going to bunt here with nobody out. And the roll is a 12 for a 25. And we have a little E roll again. That's going to be a 65. And that ends up being a bunt over to Cy Young, who goes the hard way to third base. And they get him, the play being made by Lord at third base. And Powers ends up on first base as after the fielder's choice. And with no offense going on here, we're going to bunt here even with a runner on first base. Eddie Plank coming up. And the roll is a 33 for an 8, and it ends up being a little ground ball back to the pitcher, a little ground bunt rather, and he goes to, it's McConnell covering at first base for the out, and that moves Powers up to second, and that was probably a little bit better than just swinging away there. Here's Topsy Hartzell, and he rolls a 51 for a 9, and that is a single over shortstop, and here comes the runner around the plate, but the throw ends up beating him, and that is a throw from Thoney over to Ostiak. And this has been probably this is the first really, truly exciting play of this game as despite Hartzell's single, the runner is thrown out of the plate, and that is the 3rd out of the inning. And it's going to take me a second here. I've got to get everything ready. I was so excited to play this game that I didn't get all my ducks in a row. And let's see here. There we go. We've taken our little screenshot, and this was top of the 5th inning, Hartzell. So the Athletics go from being no hit in this game to getting their first base hit, getting a stolen base, getting the bunt down, or not getting the bunt down rather, and it ends up being a out of the plate as Powers ends up being thrown out after all that hard work by Nichols, and the score is still 0-0. And that's a very, very big play at the plate, by the way, by Thoney making the big throw from center field. And up now is Heine Wagner, bottom of the 5th inning, no score. He rolls a 61 for a 13, and he strikes out. That is the second strikeout that Eddie Plank has collected in this one. Here's Harry Ostiak. He rolls a 42 for a 34. It's an awful, awful roll. 42 sometimes is something good. Not in this case. It's a pop fly over to Nichols, and there's 2 away. And here's Cy Young, who has a better card than Ostiak, and he has a 26 for 13. He strikes out quietly, and we go to the top of the 6th, and that brings up Harry Davis. And Davis rolls a 54 for a 45, and here's that little E. And the little E rolls a 26 just out of the range. That ends up being a fly ball over to right field, and it is Gessler. They're making the play 1 away. Eddie Collins now rolls a 64 for a 29. That's a comebacker to Cy Young, makes the play at first base, 2 away. Here's Danny Murphy. He rolls a 61 for a 40, which is a foul for a strike. And now a 64 for a 13, and Young gets him out on strikes, and that does that. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning, another tight one. There's Amby McConnell. Can anybody get a run home is the question. McConnell up there, and he strikes out. Plank with his 4th strikeout of the game. Harry Lord now rolls a 13 for a 39, and that's changed to 37, which is just a strike, not making a huge difference. Next roll is a 24 for a 13, and that's the 5th strikeout of the game for Eddie Plank. Plank is looking good. Next up is Gavin Kravitz, who rolls a 23 for a 32, and there's another fly ball over to Murphy, who is the magnet in right field, and he makes the play. And that brings us to the top of the 7th inning, and Rube Oldring now. He rolls a 56 for a 34, and here comes the little E roll, and the roll is a 62. Ends up being a pop fly over to the shortstop, and Heine Wagner's got that for an out, 1 away. Here's Jimmy Collins, rolls a 62 for a 12, and that's within this range again, and he rolls a 56. Unfortunately, there's no air. That's just a little ground ball over to Kerrigan, makes the play himself at first, 2 away. Nichols now rolls a 35 for a 13. What an atrocious card. And that is a strikeout. And we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, and here's Doc Gessler. No score in this game still. Gessler rolls a 63 for a 31. That's a fly ball to Oldring in center. Makes the play, 1 away. Jack Thoney now 23 for 32, and that's back over to Murphy, the magnet in right field. And here's Bill Kerrigan. He rolls a 66 for a 0. This is the first action we've seen in quite some time. And a 62, not a 626, but a 62 for a 6. That is a double to right center field, and that brings up Heine Wagner now. But with 2 outs, runner on second base, the first chance the Red Sox have had in quite some time to do anything. And he rolls a 43 for 29. That's a little ground ball over to Davis at first, and he hits Plank covering at the bag. And we go to the top of the 8th inning. 0-0 is the score. First man up, Mike Powers rolls a 35 for a 13 for a strikeout, and that is the 4th strikeout of the game for Cy Young. Here's Eddie Plank now, of course, hitting for himself, rolls a 41 for a 28, ground ball over to Heine Wagner, and he goes to first with it, 2 away. Topsy Hartzell now. And he rolls a 36 for a 30, another awful, awful roll, and what sometimes is a hit number. That's a fly ball over to Granny Kravitz in left field, and he makes it, makes the play, and we go to the bottom of the 8th inning, and here's Harry Ostiak. Once again, he rolls a 36 for a 33, and I think the only way he's going to get on base is if this is an air roll, and instead it's a 66, which even still probably wouldn't have been a hit for him. He ends up with a little pop fly over to Collins at second. There's 1 away. Here's Cy Young now. He rolls a 24 for a 13, strikeout number 6 of the game for Eddie Plank, and here's Amby McConnell. He rolls a 56 for a 32, and it's a fly ball back to that magnet in right field, Murphy, and we go to the top of the 9th inning. They always say that this is the best type of game, right? A real pitcher's duel, and this is a real pitcher's duel, and who can get the first run across is the question. And Harry Davis starts it off in the top of the 9th inning, rolls a 14 for a 43, but hang on, we have a little E, and the rolls a 22 just barely inside the little E rating and the little E range, and ends up being an error on Lord at third base, and Davis is on at first. And now, what are we going to do with Davis? Do we hit and run with him? Do we bunt with him? I think we're going to hit and run with him. There's a question over what you can do, but with Collins, with that somewhat nice on-base percentage of .310, I don't want to waste an opportunity. Eddie rolls a 25 for an 8, and that ends up being a ground ball over to second. McConnell makes the play to first, but that does move Davis up, and now here's that magnet, Danny Murphy. Now, only 2 hits in the ballgame for the Athletics and only 3 for the Red Sox. 5 hits total in this one. Here comes Murphy with the chance to do something good. He rolls a 14 for a 43, and that's a fly ball over to left field to Kravitz, and it's not even deep enough for Davis to move. And there's 2 away now for Rube Oldring. And Oldring rolls a 14 for a 43, and this does have a little E possibility, and we roll a 41. Nothing happening. That's a fly ball over to Thoney in center, and the Athletics waste another golden opportunity. And maybe we should have bunted with Murphy. I don't know if it would have made much of a difference. I mean, I don't know. You tell me what you would have done. Here's Harry Lord now, bottom of the 9th inning. He rolls a 34 for a 44. Here comes the little E, and ends up being a 22. So we're within the little E range, and that's a little ground ball over to first base that Davis ends up kicking, and that brings up Granny Kravitz. Now we're going to do the same thing we did before. We look and we see the 11 on the card, and we say to ourselves, okay, we're going to hit and run here. We'll take this chance. You either take the one chance or the other, but Kravitz is a pretty good hitter. and I'd rather let him have a hit than just bunt. Rolls a 31 for a 9, and that ends up being a little ground ball over to shortstop this time to Nichols, and he throws over to first for the out. Lord moves over to second base on the play, and here's Doc Gessler, only 1 out, runner on at second base. And he rolls a 22 for a 7, and there's a base hit to right field. Runner scores, and there's your ball game. Cy Young winds up with the win. The Red Sox end up improving in this one to 5-0. Athletics now are 0-5, and that's a big, big win for the Red Sox, who have big aspirations in this season. I tell you, going into 1908, you probably didn't think that the Boston Red Sox would end up being in this position, but here they are 5-0 at the top of the American League. Sure hope that you enjoyed that one. This is one of those close games that I just love with all of the drama in the world, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.